Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts, Nat and Kristen, as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
I went for a walk in the weekend and my friend was telling me that she has crafted a list of all her annoyances and sent it to a friend, and he sent her his list back, and I think they're now like living lists. So I immediately stopped walking and texted Kristen saying, we should do a list of workplace icks and petty annoyances, because I always find them so funny to hear what other people's are. And I feel like over the years I have compiled quite a list. Do you have a list?
No, I don't have a list, number one, but so I have to brainstorm on the fly here, but I trust I've got icks. I'm pretty sure I've unsurfaced them, but
I can
I
give
would
you
be
some
really
of yours.
stressed
I
out.
can tell you yours.
Oh yeah, this is helpful. That's a good exercise. I'll tell you what would be really stressful for me though, hanging out with someone like that who all of a sudden is writing in their notes. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? That would really stress me out. But I did, when you said it, I was like, well, where the heck did the ick come from? Turns out it's been around since 1979. It's a general term for repulsion, which is really hard, but actually I'm like, batteries that when you put the front and back together and they, repel from
Magnets?
one another? The magnets?
I don't know, we should be playing with batteries.
Doesn't a battery and a magnet? Yeah, no, no, no. You know the ones that you stick on your tongue, the D
Okay,
batteries,
no,
and
this is not advice. Do not put batteries on your tongue.
Anyway, 'cause they're magnets are batteries have magnet stuff in them, don't they? Sorry, scientists. Anyway, look, it's repulsion is what the ick is, but the modern version of it actually came from Love Island UK's Olivia Atwood. She is credited for what it is today, and she said it in 2017, so I'm like, it's been around for some time. And then, of course, it got picked up. TikTok got a hold of it, and in 2020 and lockdown, it kind of like absolutely took off, as many things, random things did. There's such a thing as even called ick talk. And it turns out actually most of these shorts, clips, and reels are women, which not surprised. Um, because we have quite often the definition is that cringy, unsettling feeling when someone you were previously into, or like maybe a friend or whatever, an acquaintance, does something, becomes suddenly inexplicably repulsive, triggered by something completely trivial. So let's keep that in mind. These are trivial things that we can often be triggered by.
Yeah, I think they are trivial. I actually think the gendered part of this is really interesting as well. I have been going a little bit down the manosphere. Please excuse me. I found it really interesting to just sort of understand. Oh, and there was a really
What is
good
that,
thing
your
I
algorithm now?
No, I just started, like, actively digging into it, because I think it's always interesting to see what perceptions, we both like to get outside our bubble. I really got really into it. I was like, "It's hilarious." All the maxing, everything's maxing, and I'm
I
like,
know, I know, I know,
"Oh, it's
I
maxing."
know.
But there was, I can't remember the video I watched, but it was someone really articulating some of the challenges men face at the moment. And, like, there's lots of research around dating apps and how men have to swipe on, like, 50 people to get one connection, and then they get ghosted. And I think the icks, I can see how icks has become a real divisive thing as well, because if it is gendered and men are feeling like, oh, because there's that whole account on Instagram that just is that scrolling list. Have you seen it? And it's like,
No.
and one of them is like a video of a man like with his legs kicking underwater, and you like add it to the list. And you're like, if you feel like anything that's like non-manly or that gives you the ick. And I'm like, oh, it kind of reinforces gender stereotypes in a way that I thought we were all fighting against. But I have experienced that in a relationship where you're just suddenly like, oh no, gone. It's gone.
Well, that it might be helpful now as I was kind of researching why we get it. Um, Sometimes there are a few signals associated with getting the ick, and then let's start to go through some of the lists, and maybe you can tell me some of mine. But sometimes it's a values signal, like you note it, like it's clearly a signal that someone's values don't align with yours, and I think that will crop up as we share our icks. Um, Others are sometimes related to our own stuff. Like, it's like it's something we might be self-conscious about or have low self-esteem about, and it appears in someone else, and a weird thing happens with our brains there. So I think it's important to raise that, we can be triggered by things because of ourselves, and, like, we're not really trying to be mean. This is, like, an interesting exploratory session of, like, aren't we complex or maybe really basic, humans?
I was just thinking when you were saying that, I was like, I've always had an ick about socks and sandals, like, people but then Kyla, I think not passively, just Aggie, aggressively wears her socks and sandals, her pulled up
Have you got
socks.
over it then?
It's never icked me about her, but in general and I think it's because she wears them with confidence, because she wears them as a as a protest. Nah, I don't think she cares enough,
It's
but
like My Socks and Crocs, which I
yeah, I mean, I've seen that. Yeah, I've bullied you on social media for that. But I do think that icks that kind of showcases how unreasonable or irrational they are. That like even between people, someone can give you the ick and someone else doing the same thing cannot give you the ick. So, but I think it is also interesting because I think sometimes you do just have that like, ugh, and it's good to be able to just go, it's just a thing. It's just a random thing that gives me the cringy, yucky, ugh.
Yeah, it's social norms as well, a little bit as well. Like, if there's something related to, I don't know, we'll get to it. Okay, actually, I've just thought a new ick while I thought okay. Okay, go.
So have
What are
I.
some of your icks? What are some of your icks?
Okay, I'm just gonna write my okay, well, I'm just gonna start with this. The one that just came to mind. Performative cultural awareness. I feel like when we've been in this situation a couple of times where someone will make a song and dance at the start of a call or a meeting about doing something very culturally sensitive, and I actually notice this far more in Australia with the, what is it? The, something to country, what's it called?
Yeah, the, acknowledgement of country.
Acknowledgement to country, and 99% of the time, it's just sort of like reading a sentence, and it's not there's no meaning, there's no thinking or respect behind it, it's just a tick off thing. I find it gives me the ick.
Yeah, especially when you see like, it's just so obvious in the person that grabs a sheet of paper and just flips it off and then gets back to business, and
Yeah.
it's like a,
Or they're, like, showcasing their cultural sensitivity, but in a very performative way, so at the other end, and that's, again, why it's probably irrational because I also strongly believe that we should all be trying and being far more aware of the indigenous populations that we're around. It's just that sometimes it's all I don't know, sometimes people push it in a way that I'm like, "Okay, this doesn't feel like you are doing this other than to showcase to everyone that you're really great or something." I
Yeah,
don't know.
right. Yeah, right, okay, and you can
Every
clearly
now and
think
again, every now and again
you
it
can think
gets
of a
me.
few examples, clearly.
Yeah.
Um, okay, no, that's great, and along those same lines, I'm gonna say, a workplace and or networking ick for me, professional ick, is overly in touch conversation starters, like, deep or personal, like, someone that clearly has is trying to be, oh, I don't know, personal and skip the small talk, and so
Oh, I know what you
you might
mean.
flip them off an email, and they'll come back and be like, um, "Key insights that you got?" Or something, and you're like, "What?" Like, we don't know each other that well, and that's a bit strange, or the opener at a networking thing where someone has tried really hard to go really deep really quick, and they often catch me in the wrong mood when they do that to me.
It's almost
I
like,
don't know.
"But how are you really?" And you're like,
Yeah, or like, oh god, I can just think of an example. No, I can't think of an example, but I remember the feeling of like, I don't even know how to answer that because we haven't done the surface dance and it doesn't feel genuine, it feels performative, and it feels like you're trying to really be in touch, and it's like, ugh.
I agree. I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and also I find it hilarious because these are all things that we are like, "Give it a go at networking and be really respectful," and then we're like, "Ick."
No, I don't know. I don't anyway, I think it's just when you go too deep too hard and you're, like, trying to get to the heart of matters or be the devil's advocate. I'm just being the devil's advocate here, and you're like, "Just don't." You're like, "Don't."
When
Okay,
you
go.
devil, go back home, devil. Okay, I'm gonna jump tone completely. auto forwards, like the just automatic forwards when a email just lands in my inbox. By the way, you never do this, so
What the
this is
heck is
nothing to
an
do
auto
with you.
forward?
Well, like when someone just gets an email and then they just forward it to you and they don't give you any context or anything, I get icked about those people. I'm like, "Ugh, you can't." Like, there's something about that,
It's
and this
actually
is like
rude. I
it's
actually find it
rude, but it also
rude.
feels like a power play of like, I'm just flicking this on, and I don't like those I think both of us have a aversion to people who abuse power, and
See,
I'm
this
like,
is the values. When I told you about you're triggered by a value signal, that
yeah.
is like a yeah, yeah, great. Okay. Um, I want to then go, name dropping. Name dropping is so gross because it's so not Canadian and it's so not New Zealand or Kiwi, and then when I get in a space, it's often with someone that isn't from here, or they've lived overseas and developed this habit, and they name drop, and I don't know, it must be the tall poppy syndrome thing of like, ugh, gross.
I don't know if it's still poppy. I have a distinct memory of being on the side of a sports field in the last couple of months, and I actually made a game of it in my head of like, how many names can he drop? Like, I haven't actually even said anything back yet, and I'm just getting bam, name, and it's always very like humble bragging of when I was out with such, and then such and such said this, and it's all very like a really contrived way of introducing something so you can name drop. And I, by the end of it, was like I was there with a couple of friends, and I was like, "Guys, I counted like 20 names in that, like, tirade at me that I didn't even ask for or contribute to."
Do you think this person adopted that by living overseas, or is it like a status thing now here?
I think it's a perceived status thing. I think they thought they were showcasing high status, and I was just, like, giggling. It was like, "Oh gosh," it's just I find that embarrassing. I'm like, "Okay, chill out." And especially because if you are listening from somewhere else, New Zealand is a very small place, so often people who name drop, we know those people, and they'll be like, "I don't know that person at all." And so it's like you've literally gone out of your way to say you have a relationship with someone where you don't, which I just find, like, so cringe.
Yeah. Don't like it, don't like it. Okay,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
go. Your go.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk about a really specific example, but we used to work with someone who'd walk in the morning and be on the phone and, like, walk into a room and be talking and be like, "Shh, I'm just on this call." And I'm like, it's another thing that you're like, "Okay, well, finish your conversation outside." Like, "I'm really pleased you're busy and important, but I didn't need to be subjected to this."
It was and that is like a belief that they look important and busy if they come in and they look like they're hustling and getting information, and then they're like, "I'll be with you in just 1 minute."
Yeah,
Yes.
and you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I was, like, already in my thing, so."
Oh, that brought back a memory of, I was chatting with an organization. I was invited to chat with an organization. This is when I was between gigs years and years and years ago, and I was invited to chat with an organization. I wasn't quite sure, but this person said, "Just go and meet my HR person. It'll be great. They happen to be in town." So, I went to the cafe and I walked in and I didn't really know who I was waiting for. And the person was sitting down at the table and I thought, "Oh, that must be it," based on the LinkedIn photo I just stalked. And this person was on a phone call at the time and noted me, and I said, "Oh, hello," and I was, on time, probably a few minutes early, and they did the "just wait" finger at me, so here I am in this busy thing. I've been invited to come and talk because this person wanted me to consider their organization, and then I'm meeting with their very important and this person was done to the nines, like, a fur coat and lots of makeup and lots of, whatever, like, it was a very done up person, and was just like, "If you can just wait for me, that'd be great." So I stood in the doorway of this cafe because there were no other seats, and I'm like, "I'm not gonna take a table when I'm supposed to be sitting with you," for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Standing at the door. It was so rude, and it was I don't think I ever fed that back, but that was such an ick for me. That's a similar thing, is these self-important people that do rather rude things to make you feel, and remember how I said that's often like a you get triggered by something, I don't know, whatever, but that made me feel vulnerable and not important, which then triggered me because I didn't feel seen, and that's like a thing for me, and so that was yuck.
Oh,
That was an ick.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna go into this, but I had an awful boyfriend once, and he used to leave me in the car being like, "I'm just gonna go do this thing," and I'd be there for, like, 2 hours, and I'd have the keys, and I wouldn't know how to get out, and now I look back and I'm like, modern me would just leave the keys in the car and walk away. But, like, when you're in those situations, you don't you, like you and then it makes you feel so little. Pulling on one little thing there, the LinkedIn photo. I just realized another ick. When people have a LinkedIn photo that is so wildly different to how they look, and you know it was taken like 20 years ago as like a glamour shoot, and I'm like, "I think we're okay to just be a little bit more real," and just like you want a nice version, but sometimes I'm like, "You don't even look like the same person."
Yeah, I think we can, like with we're doing with, organizations and transforming them from the inside out with Power Suit. I feel like we can the more we did a thing on networking and LinkedIn last week, and the more we kinda say just be yourself on LinkedIn, the more we can transform LinkedIn to a place of just, like, normal, ambitious, interesting people, and I think that can even start with a signal of a photo that's just naturally you,
Yeah.
and I think that's
And make
really
it nice, like, make it
yeah.
a glam version, like, do your makeup, have nice lighting, but, like, it should look like you now, like, not you 20, 30 years ago.
Speaking of, we should probably do, some photos again at some point.
Well, have I got the deal for you? I hired our beautiful photographer to take family photos of my sister, and she keeps chasing me being like, "She's never gotten in touch," and I've chased my sister, like, 4 times, so I might just transfer it to us and just be like, "We'll do another photo shoot."
Yeah, we should do one. So we should get because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I did look a little bit younger in my LinkedIn photo." Anyway, okay, I am gonna go with kind of along the same veins of not being seen or heard. 2 things have happened to me in my career, and I think I've dropped this one before. Actually, sorry, one is a specific example, and one is like a general persona, or as I perceive to be a persona. The first is that I was trying to build a personal brand just coming back into the workplace after having kids, and I had a bad egg as a boss. That was exactly how this person was described after they unceremoniously let this person go. And I remember being texted to come into a meeting, and this was with all senior execs at this company. And I opened the door to the meeting to see what this person wanted, and this person said, "Could you please go across the street and get me a sandwich?"
Oh,
And
so power abuses. We're like,
everyone was looking at me, and they knew it was inappropriate, but I was mortified, and, I just thought, "This is literally the worst." See how it's burned in my memory etched in my memory, and this is probably 8 years ago?
"Oh, yeah. No,
Okay,
no, no, those things do burn in your memory because it's
okay.
so
So that's
dehumanizing."
that is bad egg story of, like, that was a major ick for me, like, it made me feel yuck, and along the same vein I don't remember this, gosh, it's endless now, is
I know,
cold
it's so
fish.
easy.
I call them cold fish, people that are just cold, and I can't and I know, like, quite often it is, it could be related to personality or it's just how they engage with the world, but for me, I get, like, this immediate judgment over people who I perceive as cold, and I feel stupid, and it's an on me thing, but I get the ick from that because 'cause I'm like, "Why aren't you just, like, happy or chill or, like, smile or, like, let's have a conversation?" Like, you yeah, anyway.
That's actually really relevant to last week's podcast and newsletter about reading the room, and I've dug into it a bit more for the podcast, for the newsletter, and it's so interesting how our perceptions play a real role. Like, we all filter information through our own lenses, and I think because you are a very warm person and you are very not susceptible, very aware or attuned to those social cues, it hits you really hard when people are, like, not behaving like, not doing the really easy things they could do to make you feel welcomed or, like, yeah, perceived easy things. Okay, I'm going to on the subject of cold. No, this is just another one that I used to find. I used to have a design company, and I used to find it really irritating when people would leave at 5 p.m. on the dot every day because I was like, "You've clearly just, like, literally been looking at the clock for the exact time you can leave." So I wanted to do that one with on the flip side, I've talked to a bunch of power suitors who work different hours so that, like, some of them have, like, international calls, so they're working quite late at night, and they might start slightly later in the morning, and they say when they walk into the office, they get like a, "Oh, look who's arrived now," and I just find that whole, like, timekeeping passe, keeping to the exact moment, I find it really like, ugh, like, there's something about it that feels very non-generous or you're very much just, like, doing
On
the
both sides, the commentary about time and then the leaving at
yeah, yeah, there's something about both of being really hyper aware of time and, like, really because my assumption is the same people who leave at 5 PM on the dot are the same people who are like, "We must work for these hours, and if you don't fit my rules, you're in trouble." And I find that, like, chill out.
I wonder if the people that also equally might stay till 5:15 just to be seen at
Oh, yeah.
5:15, that would fall into the same category, again, that
Wait to be the
performative thing.
last person. Okay, well, I wanna finish one last one on that one then, 'cause
I have 2 more, but
okay,
okay.
I've got just on that same note is the people who schedule emails to make it look like they're working when they're not. Like, they're also, like, focused on, "How do I look like I'm in the office at the right time?" And I'm like, "Just send the email when you've written the email, it's fine." I know that's not always the case at different workplaces, but all that time stuff bothers me.
Yeah, okay. Now, you might wanna cut this one from the podcast, so, like, let me know because it's a little bit, it's possibly overgeneralizing and it's not very fair, but it is a personal ick of mine, and this is an extension
Oh
of,
my god,
like
is it related to me?
no, this
Oh,
is, I feel terrible saying this, but this is conversation where I just get a sense of men just swanning around, and what I mean by that is, we are in rooms now of influential people, right? People have had interesting careers, done all sorts of stuff, and what I'm noticing is when men get to a certain generation, and sit on boards and blah, 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 like, they're just swanning around, like, they're off to Japan cycling for 3 weeks, 1 month, and then they're off, like, hiking through the Dolomites, for the next week, and then they might be on another
are these
cycling many
actual examples? Because we may need to cut them if they're real people.
No, 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 I'm just generalizing, like, then they're off, like, cycling in South Australia or, like, New South Wales. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of examples, of and conversations of men fishing, a lot of fishing, there's a lot of climbing going on, there's a lot of cycling going on, and I think what is not the ick is not that because 'cause I'm like, dream life, like, would love that, so part jealousy. But it was those careers and success were built off the back of their wives and partners not making the money and the time and the connections to there's just something in it that I'm just like, oh, like, just this the trappings of success that they've built were given to them easier than what we need to do today. And it sounds really ungenerous, but I'm like, if I have another conversation about someone who's off on an expedition that was built off the back of their wives staying home with their kids, I'm like, ick,
I
ick.
think what it is we know how hard it is to get to those rooms as women. And so when someone is demonstrating how easy it was for them to the point that they are kind of swatting around, you just look at that and lose all respect for them because you're like, oh, I see what's happened here. You got an unearned spot. And now we all have to deal with that while we're working doubly as hard and your wife is picking up the slack.
Yeah, that's so it, and it's just the biggest that's, like, my biggest, like, trauma trigger where I walk away actually feeling like a loser because I'm not hopping on a plane to France, but it is just because you're in those rooms of these men that aren't more intelligent than you, they're just simply, like, have been able they haven't had to take time off to have children and or plus, 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 like, it's they were tapped on the shoulder for the opportunity, whereas many of us weren't. So, anyway, that is, an ick, but also, like, clearly a personal thing. My last one, unless you have one last one.
I would just like to interject then and say, Air New Zealand, please get us on a plane to France or somewhere else. We're a tiny bootstrap business growing internationally from New Zealand. Help us.
Okay. My last stick, and this is a personal and professional one with, either friends and or professional friends. So professional besties and acquaintances and stuff where you've kind of dug below the layer of, like, kitchen chat, right? So my ick is people who act like things are better than they are. It is such an ick for me. It's
Toxic
so fake.
positivity?
Yeah, it's so fake.
Yeah.
It's so like you feel like crap about yourself because you get with a coffee and, like, children are great and blah, blah, blah are great and work is great and oh my gosh, like the and that like part of it, I'm like, I'm so happy for you if that's real, but I just don't think it's real.
Well, do
Like,
you know, I feel like the tell there is often I think about this with a particular person I used to nanny for, and everything was always great. Like her relationship was great, everything was great. And then they divorced, and she's like, oh, yeah, because I was unhappy for such a long time. And so now it's way better that we're separated. And I was like, wait a second. You used to tell me that everything was perfect when you were together, and now you're separated. You're telling me it wasn't, but now it is. And I'm like, it's that kind of when you read between the lines and go, oh, you're always reframing the story or retelling the story in a positive light that now fits your current circumstances. And you read that and I read that as quite inauthentic and it makes it hard to connect.
That's it. Because trust is currency, and that I'm like, "Why would I trust you with my information of, like, things can be hard or I'm struggling with this?" Like, I don't trust you with that information because clearly you don't trust me with your information, and maybe I'm
Yeah.
not your person, fine.
And maybe you're competing with me. You're
Yeah, I
trying to
don't wanna
like
catch up for a
yeah.
beer after work because it's just gonna be all like, "Everything's great." I'm like, "Okay." I don't know where
Yeah,
to
it's
go
also
from
got
here.
not much to dig into when you're like,
Nah.
although to be fair, right now my life is great, and I'm like, "God, that sounds boring." I went out with your daughter for a drink last week, and I was like, "Tell me all the interesting things happening in your life, because I swear by the time you turn 42, they're all gone, and you're just, like, happily, contentedly watching movies and in a really great relationship and sometimes have a puppy to cuddle, and that's about the extent of the goss." She had great she's doing very well. Your daughter's amazing. You should always tell your friends how amazing your family is, because they are. And then I send your husband pictures of giant fish. I don't know if he showed you. There was a giant fish caught in Otaki, and I was like, "Kyle, breaking news." I don't think he was as impressed. It was giant.
Was that the
Okay,
snapper?
I
Was that a
what's
snapper?
that? Yeah, it was a
Was that the
snapper off the
Yeah, I
beach as
think you
well.
did show me.
Mm.
He didn't say
Um,
it was from you, though.
yeah, well, it's the fishing grapevine, the Otaki fishing grapevine. I have a couple more, and I think some of these okay, you don't like chewing, so I feel like this one, is very much aligned with you. For me, it's humming, pen clicking, tapping, like, all of that kind of just, like, random noises, which is funnily enough why I always have the TV on during the day because like, sudden random noises that aren't pattern based, I just ugh, they're annoying. I thought you would raise things like bare feet at the office, but I'm like, it's New Zealand. Maybe
No,
they
bare feet gives me the ick, but I just feel like I haven't experienced it that much in the
yeah.
office.
Yeah, okay. Using me as Google. So someone the other day was like, "Oh, what time was this?" And I was like, "Well, it is in your calendar, but sure, you get me to do that work." That for some reason really icks me. And then I have a couple of two well, then I've just got a really basic one. And this is like nobody's fault, and I get it. Technology is hard, but when you are speaking to someone and they're looking always off in a different direction because their camera is on a different screen than the video, and so they're like they look like they're looking somewhere else completely, and I'm like, "Okay, you can fix that. You can fix that."
And maybe they don't even know that. That's wild.
Yeah, well, sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm looking in a different direction because of this," and I'm like, "Yeah, and you could just switch up." It's not a big ick, but I just feel like it's something that we should fix. Um, we don't have to deal with this anymore, but cold aircon used to drive me bonkers in offices where it was for put the thermostat was put at the temperature that worked for men in suits, and we were all freezing all the time, and I was like, "We shouldn't have to have little heaters under our desks." And then 2 are behavioral ones, and these are things that I've experienced a bit. I like this because I used ChatGPT to figure out what I meant. Weaponized busyness, that kind of like race to the bottom, I'm more busy, and like that kind of feeds into when we talk about saying no and when people go, I'm too busy. And it's like, it just comes across as weaponized. Like it's everyone's busy, like come up with a better excuse. And then the second element of the behavioral one is the drama person. I've worked with someone before who was always the first to clock someone in the middle of a drama and get themselves right in the middle of it and make it worse. And I just found that behavior pitiful because I'm like, we should all be trying to like help each other work together, not
Yeah,
constantly be dropping bombs.
that's such a that feels like such a toxic trait, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it did feel like
Mm.
that at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that trust it's that trust currency as well. It's like and they're easy to clock too. Great. Good therapy/venting session. Hopefully, some related to some of ours,
We'd like to
and,
hear yours. If you've got any workplace icks, can people write comments on the podcast or send them through to us? Email them through to us and we'll read some out next week if we get any.
or
Because
I'll put a post up on socials, so
oh
yeah,
yeah, get
feel
some
free to, send some through everyone. Take the chance the
and if you
take the
disagree with our
opportunity.
icks too, because I feel like icks are quite personal, like the socks and sandals thing that some people, like Kyla, think that they're great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Aw, thanks everyone, for tuning in, sharing this episode, for reaching out, getting in touch, and checking out, the great work we're doing at powersuit.com. We would love to connect with you personally, so make sure you reach out in all of the various channels that you can do that, and we'll
Amazing.
catch you next time. Thanks everyone.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait. Before we go, I
What?
have a definition of a word, the origin of a
Okay.
word.
Oh, yeah,
Should I
go.
send this one to you?
No, go.
Hungover. The origin of hungover.
Oh, what is it?
Okay, I have to get it up. I prepared. This is the most I've ever prepared for a podcast on my original word. Okay. The lowest form of accommodation in Victorian England was access to bend over a rope for the night at the price of a penny, usually used by drunken sailors who had spent all their money drinking. It was said to be the origin of the term hungover.
Oh, I like it. It's a good one. Okay, I guess that's my turn for next week. All right, retake on the goodbye. Chat to everyone next week. Take
I
care.
think you should get Juno to wipe the sleep out of her eyes before she appears on camera next time. Here we go. Oh, no, she looks gorgeous. She's like, I'm a podcaster.
Anyway, thanks everyone. Chat soon. Bye.